Dorset is a dreamy, quaint little town, making it an incredibly sought-after place to set up residence. As a continuation of our housing series, we spoke to town manager Rob Gaiotti and chair of the Dorset Planning Commission, Squire, about why, these days, places to set up residence are hard to find.
It's a significant problem. It's been a problem, I think, in parts of Vermont for a really long time.
I think, according to some statistics I was given, pre-COVID, there were sometimes 70 to 80 houses for sale townwide. A couple of weeks ago, there were 10, and the prices of those houses ranged considerably from a little over 300,000 to well over 2 million.
We being the town of Dorset, town of Manchester, village of Manchester, did a economic development study back in like 2016 that basically outlined the labor market area in Manchester and kind of looked at some actual figures as to how many people work in the area and how many people live in the area, and the numbers were pretty stark then as to almost 2/3 of the workers in our area are living outside of the area.
We never had a huge inventory of middle to low market value homes, and it's just gotten worse since COVID. So yeah, it prevents young families from moving in. It prevents young workforce people from moving in. It also prevents empty nesters and retirees from downsizing. So it affects almost just about every level.
Traditionally, there was a lot of inventory, but the prices were pretty high because of the impacts of tourism and the second home economy that we have here that we're very fortunate to have. But it comes with its own challenges related to employers and housing and stuff like that. So COVID just made things worse because the inventory went down, completely. So
we spent over the last 3.5 years completely redoing our bylaws. And we lowered in one section of the village, in the village business section, we reduced the minimum lot size. I'm not sure that's going to have a big effect on housing, but we've also made it easier to permit accessory dwelling units and to permit buildings with multiple residential units in them. So we'll see how that plays out.
In general terms, some of the density requirements, like in the villages, now open up more opportunity for what's called infill development. Kind of in the village core with smaller lot minimums, so more units can go on a smaller area, and you get some synergies around water, wastewater, and stuff like that. That hopefully will at least set the stage for future development.
But really, nothing in zoning is going to address the discrepancy between the cost of a moderately priced home and the salary that's required to maintain that, to pay for the mortgage and all the other expenses involved with that home. That's not a zoning fix.
On top of the mad COVID dash to grab real estate, the Dorset Village Historic District has a water issue preventing developers from building extra properties or homeowners from adding additions.
So in the village of Dorset, right now there's a $5 million water service and mainline project that's about a third of the way to completion.
Dorset Village predominantly is on a municipal water system, but we don't have sewers. So that's a restriction right there. And we're currently under a building moratorium, have been for as long as I've lived here, which is 27 years, by the state, because we need to fix our municipal water system, which we're doing. But that won't be probably finished for another couple of years. So nobody can add a bedroom or anything that would involve more water use right now, anybody who's on the water system.
If you're in our service area and you have to, you don't have enough, buffer for a well and a septic system, you'd have to get on town water. Unfortunately, right now there's nobody is able to get a new allocation from the water system as part of this upgrade. About 115 old leaky service lines and small diameter mains are going to get replaced, and that's going to tighten up the system. And then eventually we'll be able to kind of unwind that allocation restriction from the state and allow for new allocation.
While the water is being fixed, a few other projects are starting to get underway to tackle this issue.
We do have, the select board is planning to form a housing task force, and the housing task force will look into various options of affordable housing.
The town is in the process of actually moving this building over to Raptor Lane, which is off of Route 30 next to J.K. Adams. And we purchased that property in 2018 as part of a bargain sale. Long story short, there's 7 other, pre-existing lots that are there that the town's going to have to work kind of through the process of, what do we do with them? Do we sponsor some kind of development? Do we work with private entities to try to figure out, the best way to parse it out and bring in, potentially new housing there? Still really early in that process, but there's Raptor Lane's got 1.5 miles of road infrastructure that was already put in, as well as utility conduit, stuff like that. So the area is more or less kind of prepared and does have some wastewater permits in place for houses. So that's one of the probably the shorter term kind of lower hanging fruit options that the town has. But it's just one of, hopefully a few different efforts that they'll look at.
On top of everything else, STRs, or short-term rentals, Airbnbs and the like, are taking inventory away from potential homeowners. However, there seems to be no solution to this issue, as current homeowners argue that they should be allowed to do what they want with their properties. When
we were redoing our zoning bylaws, we initially put the STR issue into zoning, and we quickly realized that was a mistake. We got a lot of feedback from the public about that. So like many other towns, the select board is now going to work on an ordinance addressing short-term rentals. We have really no data at the moment on how many Airbnbs and short-term rentals we have in Dorset, and I think that's the first step, is to create a registry or an inventory. And I've been very interested in what some other towns have done to get a handle on this issue. We don't want to deprive anyone the right of renting out their home if they want to, but it certainly has an impact on the number of houses that are available for sale or rent, long-term rental.
We received quite a bit of input from property owners that sponsor, partake, or utilize STRs as part of their ownership of the property. And there was a pretty heavily negative reaction toward regulating them as part of the bylaw. The bylaw option was a little heavy-handed. It would have over time, required that the owner of the property, either have it leased long-term or live, on the property. When it was pulled, the select board pulled it out of the draft bylaw. And at that time, there was a discussion or a plan about, potentially creating a standalone ordinance. I think Londonderry, I don't know if they've actually activated anything, but there's somebody that we're looking to potentially see what they're doing related to the ordinance. So we understand that it's definitely has impacts, but we don't know what measurable impacts.
A solution to the low inventory, high cost real estate problem may not be on the near horizon for Dorset, but perhaps we can find some solace in the fact that this place is so beautiful, everyone wants to move in. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Bert Grinstead.